Okay, welcome to Bitrix Live. I am Damien Edwards, Sales Manager of Bitrix24 Partners Interface, and with me I've got Andy Naylor, our Support Manager.
Hi guys, we're going to be taking questions throughout this session. You can email live@interface.com, you can tweet us at interface, or you can put the questions in the box provided on YouTube and we can answer them as we go along.
Okay, we've got a couple being emailed in. Let's kick off. I saw that Bitrix will be having a new feature of email marketing and autoresponders within the platform. Can you tell me when this feature will be rolled out to the public? So actually, email marketing I think is already live. Let's have a look at that. Okay, live in beta. So yeah, it should already be live in beta. If you've got a cloud account, if you've got a self-hosted account, then you might have to put the updates on, allow beta updates to be able to see this new module. But it is in beta, so there will be some updates coming through on that.
Yeah, I think it's quite a powerful tool, the email campaigns, because it actually integrates with your CRM. So you can actually create lists to mail to based on your filtering options in your CRM. So it's quite a powerful tool. If you've been using something similar, maybe like MailChimp or Constant Contact, then we think that you'll be pretty happy with the new marketing inside Bitrix.
Okay. I don't want to see the activity stream as my main page when I log in. Can I have the CRM as my screen, as the first screen I see? So yeah, I think we can. Yeah, so that's quite straightforward. Actually, if we go into the CRM.
Yeah, so I mean the best thing to do would be to go to configure menu. Let's say if you go to configure the menu items, and then what we can do here, you can click on the pencil icon and then make homepage for all of Bitrix24. The good thing about that is obviously when the user lands on the site, they can see the CRM. And we have quite a lot of customers change that. We have people have the maybe news as soon as they arrive on, or we have a dashboard on the self-hosted. People arrive on that. And I think as an administrator as well, you can actually set the menu for everybody that's on your system. So if you're an administrator, you can create the look and feel of the left-hand menu, and then you can save it for everybody in your company. So yeah, that's how you would. It's pretty simple to do. That's how you would do that.
Okay, yeah, and so and also this make homepage for Bitrix24. This is a personal choice, so this doesn't set it default for all users. There is, as an administrator, you can create default menus now in Bitrix for all users, but the individual users can configure their own or change things around themselves. Okay. I want to see email communication between myself and my clients. What's the best way to do this? So Bitrix includes an email client. Let's have a look. I'm not going to enable there. Bitrix includes its own email client, or you can integrate with your external email provider. We don't see any need necessarily if you're already using Outlook or Gmail or something. No need really. If you want to switch away from that provider, you can. There are tools to allow you to integrate. So each user can set up their own email address within here. So we've got standard integration with some of these providers here, or you can put in your own IMAP, POP details, I believe. So you can really integrate with any provider. This would then allow for incoming emails to be synced into a CRM contact. So an incoming email will look to see whether a CRM contact has an email address that matches, and it will copy that into the activity stream of this. So yeah, as you can see here, you can also create your own Bitrix24 email if you want to do it that way.
Yeah, I think one of the good things with this email integration is that not only does Bitrix check your incoming email, also allows you to check your outgoing email as well. So if you are sending your emails to your clients, as David mentioned just then, it does actually sync it to your, if that client existed in your CRM, then it will put that email in your contact in your CRM's activity stream. So it's really good. It keeps a log of all your communications then. And depending on how your CRM permissions are set up, it allows actually maybe, for example, if you were off work for on vacation, or if you were ill, then it actually allows other people to go into that CRM contact and actually see what communication you've had between you and that client. So it's definitely a good history of all the communications if you were to integrate this way.
Okay. We get asked quite a lot about syncing emails into projects as well. That's a little bit different. So a project is a work group or tasks within that work group. It is possible to create rules to sync emails into tasks. It's not a standard feature. It's probably better implemented on the self-hosted version, but it's possible to do that on the self-hosted if you want to keep a record of all emails that are concerning a particular project.
Yeah, I think at the moment, I think like David mentioned, the on-premise with the email integrations is a little bit different. You can actually, if we go into the services section here and we'll just click on the mailbox to start off with, is you can actually create a mailbox in Bitrix, and then you can, as David mentioned, you can then perform rules on those emails receiving via that mailbox. So as I mentioned, then you can put it into a project work group, but we also have other people that maybe create tasks from emails. It's pretty much, you can pretty much do anything as long as you've got the skills and the development to actually create some of these rules. A partner would be able to help, but there are some standard ones, such as you can create support tickets, can't you? And there are quite a lot of different.
There's some standard processes or rules built in there, but I think the kind of two ways we get asked how would that find the relevant project. So there's two ways of doing it. You can create a custom email address for individual projects. If your projects are quite large, then it might be worth doing it that way. So you CC that email address on all communications, and those emails get copied into the right tasks or work group. Or you can use some sort of coding, so a hashtag and then a project number or something in the subject line. The rule will be able to look for that sort of ID in a subject line and then copy it to the correct location. So really a lot of possibility on the self-hosted. Okay.
Got a question about wanting to see the manager's calendar. Yeah, so Bitrix has some. If we just jump back into here and we'll go into the calendars. So Bitrix has a really powerful calendar module within it. All we would recommend is that your permissions are set correctly on the actual calendar itself. So if we can go into, if we just go into the actual calendar, I do believe, and then you can actually set the permissions for the calendar.
I think we've got a new interface, haven't we?
Yeah,
this has been updated quite recently, so there's been some changes, quite a lot of improvements to the way this looks.
Yeah, so as long as you've got your calendar set to view, then you can share. You can obviously see other people's calendars, so you can get them in here. If we just click on the calendars, you can see here. I can see Joe Smith, and I can add another user's calendar here. So that's where you would be able to overlay the events. So if I've got two calendars, you can have different coloured calendars for different users, and then you can see your manager's events.
I think it essentially works the same as other calendar providers, really, Outlook and Gmail, etc. So the way that you can share and overlay calendars. So yeah, shouldn't be too difficult to set up. But if you want to get in touch with Bitrix or a partner, we can help you set that up. Okay, what would you recommend the best way to book client meetings in? So as we're on calendars, of course, you can use calendars to create events such as client meetings. I guess that's useful if you want to then sync that with your other calendars, mobile calendars, or other users. There is another way within the CRM to be able to book events such as client meetings. Just click into a contact. Let's go into our contacts. Okay, so we're on the new slider view here, and you can see you've got these actions across the top here. So we talked about booking in client meetings. So we've got calls, but we've also got meetings, which are slightly different. So I can create a new event within this calendar view, and we can invite additional people. We can make people responsible. We can invite additional people into this particular calendar event as well. When we invite people in, as also we can see if there's any conflicts with other events already booked in up here. So once you've got events booked in, if you're working through a lot of calls during the day, then you would refer to your activities page, and then I can create a filter up here to view activities for a particular day, for instance, and then we can work through sales calls, follow-up leads, all the activities as well, not just meetings, but calls or any tasks that you've got to work on during that day. Okay, what does Facebook integration do? So Bitrix includes a feature called Open Channels, which allows you to quickly respond to from external platforms such as Facebook. So when a user lands on your Facebook page, wants to send you an instant message, you can receive that message inside your Bitrix application and reply to that message from Bitrix as well. So that allows you to have a two-way conversation with those people on Facebook. So the first benefit of enabling this integration is that you can respond very quickly to those messages, and you can respond to messages coming in from multiple channels. Second benefit is you can actually save those messages as well. So we can save a copy, we can create a new lead from that message, and we can capture information as well. So if they were to post in things like their telephone number or email address in the body of the message, then Bitrix will actually identify those as an email or a telephone and post them into the correct field when creating a new lead. So clients are expecting very fast responses to these sort of inquiries. You don't need to be logged into all these different platforms now. You can respond to those directly from your Bitrix account. So I think fairly straightforward to set up. I don't think you need to create any sort of keys or anything like that. I think essentially you need to log in, go through the setup wizard in your Open Channels page, and then it'll ask you to log into Facebook as an administrator. You need to be an administrator of the company page, and then you're away. There's some settings here around what to do when you get a new message. Should you create a lead or not? You can create queues down here. So if you want to distribute these messages evenly amongst a team, you can add additional people into this queue here. You can tag this as where the inquiries come from. So if you want to do reporting on leads, you'll see just how many leads have been generated from Facebook messages. So we've got some kind of auto responders as well, should you not be should you not be available. So it's all fairly straightforward. Quite a lot of new different features that you can add in there to create kind of around automatic responses. Some also down here some rating requests if you want to do that. Fairly straightforward to set up.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is, as David mentioned, is it comes through as an instant message. So you can see on the right hand side here we've got an open channel icon. As soon as the message came through, it would notify the people in the queue, and then they would just click on it, and then they would be able to pick up. And you can even transfer. So, for example, if it's maybe you've got an administrator that looks at the initial inquiry, then they could maybe pass it on to the sales team or the accounts department, and then they could actually talk with that particular person. So you can actually transfer the incoming chats as well.
Yeah, I think that's a key feature as well, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. As Andy said there, yeah, quite rightly, that not only can you reply quickly, but you don't need to hang up these messages. You can transfer them to, quite likely the person that's taking the initial message might be someone involved in sales, but the inquiry might not be a sales inquiry at all. So you can quickly transfer those to the right sort of people. So this is kind of becoming expected, I think, from a user's point of view, that they can get through to people quickly from these different channels. And Bitrix now has all that functionality built in, available, I believe, on most packages, most editions of Bitrix, certainly on all the commercial packages. Okay.
Got a question come through. Is there some way to create a project inside a private group? I would like to have a group for each of my clients and create projects inside it.
I think there's no way of creating depends what you class as a project, really. I think there's not. Bitrix includes work groups. There's not a way to create work groups that sit within work groups. There's different ways of handling this, I think. You can create work groups topics, so that you could have work groups for clients. You could have work groups for internal projects, or work group for client type A, work for client type B, so that you can then categorize those work groups and filter out what those groups are for. So you can't create work groups within work groups, but you can create tasks within work groups, and then head tasks, and then subtasks within those tasks. So,
yeah, I think that may be the best way of doing it. I think obviously the difference between the work group and the private project is that with the private projects types of groups is that you get a start date and an end date. So it may be, what we probably would recommend is maybe you create a private work group for your client, and then, as Damien mentioned, the best way to manage projects inside that is maybe creating maybe a head task for the project, and then creating a series of subtasks for your tasks within that project. And you can then delegate those subtasks to the relevant people for the projects. And even if you wanted to invite your clients in, as that's what we do here, you maybe create the external work group, and then you can invite your client in on some of those tasks within the project.
So Andy's suggestion there is to create a work group for each client. If you work on very, very large projects, then it might be suitable to create a work group for each individual project. But generally, a work group for the client, and then tasks within that work group would be generally the best way of going. That allows you to invite your client into that work group each time you start a new project. For that client, they're logging into the same area each time. You don't need to give them additional access. They've always got access to that particular work group. Okay. I make business calls each day. Does Bitrix include an auto dialer? So we get asked about auto dialers quite a bit. It certainly does. Let's go into the CRM. So different ways of communicating inside of Bitrix. I think that the first way is to use the chat over here. So I can search for a user over here, and we can have an instant, I can have an instant message chat with this user, or we can have a video or voice call with this user. So they need to be a user of the system. They can be an internal colleague of yours, or they can be a client that you've invited into the system. But you can make a phone call to them, and that's there's no charge for the calls on a minute by minute basis. But if you're wanting to use telephony, then it's going to a contact, see how we can do that. Okay, it's just running a bit slow. Bear with me a second.
Yeah, I mean, just going back, just looking at the question, I mean, it sounds as though you wanted to call up your contacts in the CRM. So, I mean, what we would usually say is that, as Damien touched upon earlier in the CRM side of things, is that you can go to the activities section in the CRM and search for your calls that you've been booked in for that particular day, and then work through your calls for that. So I think we're just having a bit of it. There we go.
Okay, so if we open up a contact record, then just bear with me a second. We're just having a problem with the speed of the internet. Bear with me a second. Okay, so inside a contact record, we can call this contact. If I open up, if I click on the link here, then we can dial the contact directly from the system. Any phone calls made from a contact record will be, if you have it enabled, will be recorded, stored in the activity stream. So as well as pulling up information about notes that you've made on the contact, you can pull up audio, telephone messages, telephone calls as well. So I think the question actually was more about auto dialing. So if we go back into our contact list, we can of course create a filter at the top here. So it might be, I want to create a filter of contacts in a certain geographical area, or contacts that maybe I'm responsible for, so I can choose myself in here to create this filter. Once I've created my filter, if I select all of these, then it will allow me to start dialing these. So this will allow me to click on calls, allow me to call the first one, and then automatically switch down the list until I've dialed all of these contacts. Again, it will record those telephone conversations in the contact record. There's also some statistics, I think, in telephony about how many calls individual users have made. So you can do filters in there as well to see who's sort of most active on that side.
Yeah, and like Dave mentioned, I think one of the good things with the telephony is certainly the recording aspect of it, because you can actually go to the telephony section and then rerun through maybe a playback of that particular call. So it's good for training purposes as well for your staff. You can check out what they are actually saying to your customers as well. So that's a really good feature for dialing out of Bitrix.
Okay. What's the difference between a normal work group and a project work group? We just had a quick look at that. I think we probably covered that in that a project work has a deadline. I think that's right, isn't it? And does it have a start date and an end date? I think.
And end date, yeah. So if you go into the work groups here, that is the main. Well, that is the main difference. So if you go into create a private project, you can see here that we have a project start date and a project end date, and it'll display that in the information once you're inside the work group, and yeah, you can basically specify the dates, and you can report on that and see if you're running on track within that particular project. So yeah, that's the main difference at the moment.
So Bitrix is built around work groups, and we get a lot of people asking, well, where are the projects in Bitrix? This is a new feature, slight change to the way you can create those work groups, which is now called a project, as Andy says, with those different dates. But essentially, a work group is a project. If you want to create it as a project or as a traditional work group, they're very similar. Essentially, you can invite your individual team internal team into that, and you can invite your external clients into that project work group as well. So I think that's the difference.
Yeah, and as David said, they are one of the main modules in Bitrix. It's a really powerful module. You can house everything to do with that particular project or that particular client, as somebody asked earlier. In that particular work, you can use all the tasks, and you can invite your clients in if you wanted to as well. So.
Mm-hmm. We've got another question here about following on from that about work groups. So they want information pages in my work group. So let's just go into a work group. Let's just quickly look at the features available. We sometimes create custom pages where a user might want to see kind of custom reports, particularly around sort of like maybe costs and things like that. So where you may be submitting items into a list or something, so that they can be recorded against total cost for that project. We get involved in projects where people want to see that in a report view in a work group. So you can, I think, the answer to the question on the standard solutions, then you use a wiki to create those sort of pages. On the self-hosted, you've got a bit more flexibility.
Yeah, we've just recently done an integration with the CRM in a workflow within there. So what happened was a deal gets completed, and then a new work group from that. Once it hits the completed stage, it creates a new work group for that particular project and pushes the information from the particular deal into a static page on a work group. So it's quite a good integration. But that, like Damien mentioned, that is probably possible on the self-host if you wanted that flexibility.
Okay.
We've got a question come through. Is there an extra charge if I connect my domain for emailing directly from Bitrix? A maximum send receive emails. So there's no charge. There's no charge from Bitrix for